Hey family, what's going on? Kyle Henderson, Bama football on YouTube. Good morning. Alabama now 8-1 on the season, undefeated in conference play. I know you have questions about this victory, 20-9 against LSU. I'm going to talk about the good, yes, the good, and a couple points on the bad. All right, that's how it works. But remember, Alabama won this football game, okay? I know sometimes you like to go into negative town as a fan, but let me walk you off the edge. And the first way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull up the defensive stats. Now, let me ask you inside the comment box, why is this team winning football games? If you followed my post-game show, everybody knows the answer. Alabama is winning games because of the defense. And what is the old adage about that saying? Defense wins what? You can answer that too. Alabama's defense tonight did an amazing job, and they were put in some tight spots. And I feel that we continue to see a transformation of the Alabama defense throughout the course of the season. And I think when we look back on this 2025 season, there is going to be a lot of high points of this Alabama defense. Now, while I can single out a couple different players, and I will, and I'll give some game balls, I think collectively what Alabama was able to do against LSU tonight once again shows you that Kane Womack is coming around as a defensive coordinator, that his defensive scheme is working, and that Alabama, their identity of the defense is bend but don't break. How many times within the last two games has Alabama's defense came up with big stops inside the red zone, right? South Carolina, I think they went into the red zone maybe 3 times, and they came away with like 6 points. And tonight against LSU, it was kind of the same thing, right? LSU was able to get into the red zone a couple times. They missed a field goal or, came up with just came up short, not getting 6, getting 3 instead. So that's hats off. That's great play by the Alabama defense. Now, when we kind of circle some of the players that are standing out from Alabama's defense, who would you say is playing at an absolute elite level? Because for me, and when I talk about Alabama's defense, I can name a couple different guys, but nobody in the country, okay, is playing hotter than number 42. Yanzi Pierre, this guy coming off the edge, is absolutely a menace. And you look to how he has played this season. You know, I pointed out this stat going into this game. LT Overton and Yanzi Pierre are responsible, or at least going into the game, were responsible for 46% of the total sacks, right? Well, I think that number has increased. I don't have the full numbers in front of me right now, but, let's do the math. Yanzi Pierre had 2 sacks tonight, and LT Overton had 1. So they have 3 total sacks tonight. Yanzi Pierre, you can't bring on Quay Rusau and just take Yanzi Pierre off the field. You're going to have an added bonus with having Quay come back at some point in time. But 42, and do you agree? Give me a thumbs up inside the comment box if you agree that 42 is an absolute menace. The strip that he had tonight was beautiful. Kind of reminded me of like some Dallas Turner, some Will Anderson. He's ferocious off the edge, comes up with big-time plays when you need him. LT Overton came up with a big play as well, the quarterback sack. It looked for a second like he was going to get juked out, and he's even going up against Van Buren, who's a more athletic quarterback than Nussmeier, and he's able to come up with the quarterback sack as well. So those guys did a great job on defense. So I kind of want to start out with like a positive, talking about Alabama's defense. In total, Deontay Lawson has 9 total tackles. Justin Jefferson, I saw him make a really good play. He has 7. Keon Sabb came up with 5, and then Bray Hubbard. If I'm giving out game balls, I'm giving Bray Hubbard a game ball as well. He had a forced fumble in this game. He had a pass breakup, which was in the end zone, and he had some really big hits as well. So Bray Hubbard, another guy that's playing at a great level, and we'll talk about Nakai Hill-Green, number 41, later on when we kind of talk about game highlights because he had that punch out that I want to highlight. But number 5, this guy, he came up with a big play. He used his lengthy body to come up and bat a ball away that probably would have been a touchdown. And then Red Morgan, 16 is playing like he is playing on fire, man. I am so happy to see 16 getting opportunities. Tonight, LSU 232 yards against Alabama, 173 through the air. And we kind of go on this side and look what Nussmeier was able to do. 18-21. He was efficient. He just didn't put the ball in the end zone, and they subbed him out. They put in Van Buren, and he goes 5 of 11, a more athletic quarterback. 52 yards, again, doesn't reach the end zone. So now let's kind of shift gears here and talk about some of the bad or the questions that we have, okay? So a lot of people on the show were asking about Ty Simpson, and is Ty regressing as a quarterback? I'm going to say no. I really don't. And look, I probably have a show today, this morning, so this is an early show, but I'll probably be live. Call in, and I want to get your take on Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson. Look, the last two games, his efficiency, his overall percentage has been low. I think it was like 56 against South Carolina and 60% against LSU. He's 21 to 35. Now, my argument for why he's not regressing is I still see him making throws, okay? And most importantly, he's not turning the football over, okay? In terms of interceptions. Now, I know he coughed up another fumble. Offensive line allowed pressure. He's got to do a better job protecting the football. But I don't see that as kind of a downward spiral in Ty Simpson's game. Now, I would imagine that the people talking about the Rat Poison Award, the Heisman, probably have Fernando Mendoza with his come from behind victory. Julian Sain, I think he was 29 to 33 today. So you kind of look at these numbers and you're like, all right, he might be slipping overall. But again, you got to think about the competition and the fact that, honestly, I feel that teams are starting to understand how to play Alabama football. So it's up to Ryan Grubb to figure this out as we move forward, specifically going into this Oklahoma game, because I think Oklahoma, if they are watching this game, they are licking their chops. And remember, they've had an extra week to prep for this game. And if a YouTuber understands how to get after the quarterback or how to give Alabama fits, then you guess that Brent Venables is going to do the same thing, okay? And when Ty is under duress, he struggles. I think his deep ball is still in question. Is that one of his Achilles heels? We'll have to see how the offensive line did tonight. But look, Ty Simpson, he still delivered. And you look to the passing chart right here. Lazier Brooks came up 467. He had the big 53-yard grab. That was a nice ball downfield. Ty Simpson also had a longest of 32 to Josh Cuevas. That was a nice ball downfield. Jeremy Bernard, he hit him multiple times for over 25. And then Ryan Williams, the pass that he threw to him in the end zone, that was an NFL-type throw. So I don't think that he's regressing. I think that teams are just understanding how to play Alabama, and they are starting to understand, and this is the truth, that Alabama is one-dimensional, okay? And Alabama, this is kind of the same stats. This team cannot run the football. I don't know why. I've said it's not the running backs. It's the offensive line. Now tonight, I felt it was the running backs along with the offensive line. Sometimes I think it's the scheming. I'd like to hear from you inside the comment box. Like, if you're an offensive line, kind of head, or you think you're an offensive guy, why do you feel that Alabama cannot run the football? Is it the offensive line? I mean, look at these averages. I know you guys are calling for Daniel Hill more than Jam Miller, but I mean, look, 7 for 21, 8 for 13, 3-yard average, 1.6. Sometimes I feel that Jeremy Bernard is the best running back on this team. So I'm having a really hard time with Alabama's run game. But coming back to, is Ty regressing? I don't think so. I just think that teams are figuring out this is a one-dimensional team, and we're not, we're going to challenge Ty in terms of that deep ball. So in terms of regressing, we're not there. Game-changing plays tonight against LSU. You know how I have the list of the top plays. I go back to Georgia. It was LT Overton, Devontae Lawson making the stop. I go to Vanderbilt, Keon Sabb making the interception. I go to the Tennessee game, Xavier Brown returning 98 yards. I go to the Missouri game where Draylen Washington came up with a big stop, right? We've had these plays. Against South Carolina, it was Deontay Lawson with the strip. Tim Keenan falls on the ball, right? Those are like our key plays. Well, tonight, I'm going to give another special teams kind of game-changing play. And that came out when Blake Dowd punted the ball, and LSU has momentum, right? I think it was 17-9 at this point in time. And LSU has momentum, and the ball is about to go in the end zone. And Mbakwe, right? Jalen Mbakwe comes, saves the ball. It gets at the 2. So now it becomes they're in the shadow of their own end zone, LSU. 98 yards to go. And I really felt that that was a key moment in this game because LSU couldn't do much from the shadow of their own end zone. They had to go back to Alabama. Alabama was able to kick a field goal to make it, 20-9 or whatever, which ended up being the final. But I thought that was such a huge part of this game. Other game-changing plays I felt or things that stand out to me in kind of the game highlights is Yanzi Pierre coming off the edge and coming up with that fumble. And then also Nikhil Green. Man, this was a hell of a play early in the first half where he has the heads up to punch that ball out of the tight end. Alabama was able to get the ball and able to capitalize on that. I thought that was such a good play in that game. I felt that Isaiah Horton made a really good catch that was contested. And as I said earlier, Ty Simpson throwing that ball to Ryan Williams for a touchdown. You know, it reminded me of, I don't know what year it was. Not 2000. It had to be, was it 2018? Where we were in Baton Rouge and Devontae Smith made that grab. Now, he didn't have to go one-handed. I'm talking about Ryan Williams, but, you know, kind of like up in the air. It was a nicely thrown ball. It kind of reminded me of that. So that is a game highlight as well. When I'm giving out game balls, who would you give a game ball to? I got 42, Yanzi Pierre, 100%. I got 18. I got, let's see. I'm giving Jalen Mbakwe one for the special teams play. And you know who else I'm giving a game ball to? Yo, Red Morgan, that guy, man, he must play at 1,000 miles an hour. I want to see more Red Morgan play. I think he plays at a very high level. That guy, very ambitious. He's been coming up, okay? He's on the rise. If you're talking about players that are trending up, he's certainly one of them. Okay, I get to any complaints. I got a few of them, I have to say. All right. Now, nothing can be perfect, and I want to sugarcoat everything for you guys. Okay. So these are the kind of complaints, and it's been a long day. So these are the things that are just on my mind. I feel Ryan Grubb has gone gadget crazy. All right. This guy, he's calling so many. I've never seen an offensive coordinator call so many gadget plays. The pass from Jeremy to Ty. Or was it Ty to Jeremy to Lazier Brooks that almost worked? The direct snap to Jam Miller. I mean, countless gadget plays. And I feel, look, as exciting as it is to see a gadget play, to even see Wildcat, it's like exciting. When they don't work, it kills momentum. Plus, you have one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. Sorry, a little under the weather. I appreciate the grace. So don't throw off that momentum. Now, I do have to give him a little bit of credit, not Ryan Grubb. I'm never selling Ryan Grubb, and I still think he's a great offensive coordinator. But, like, I was so happy when it was 1st and goal from, like, the 4 that you just handed it off to Daniel Hill. Do that 100 times over. So instead of that direct snap, do that same thing when it's, like, 4th and 1, but with Daniel Hill. A 250-pound back makes more sense than a 210-pound quarterback with 5 wide. You see what I'm saying? So kind of complaining on that a little bit. You know, I do wonder about Ty Simpson's deep ball ability. I do feel he missed on a couple deep ball passes, and he was 1 of 9 against South Carolina. And in this particular game, I haven't ran the entire numbers, but just off my memory, I think he missed on a couple deep balls. Now, I know he hit Lazier Brooks, but still, you want that number to be trending upward. Also, the kicking game, and I'm talking about Connor Talty. Now, look, Talty, at the end of the day, he knocked down some field goals that were quality, but I still feel nervous every time the kid goes out there. I mean, the field goal that he missed tonight at home, that's unacceptable. Okay, 45 yards out, okay, maybe that's not quite your range or whatever. And he hit some deep balls. But I felt overall that, I'm not confident, like 100% confident in terms of his kicking ability, right? Coach Kalen DeBoer, following the game, said this: "It's always good to get a W. Definitely not happy with the way that we played at times tonight. For the most part, we find a way to win, and that's what matters." 100%. It's all about winning at the end of the day, right? You got to be able to win. But with that said, I do feel that if LSU plays a better game, that LSU has an opportunity to potentially beat Alabama tonight. And I think you kind of looked at the stats. I think this was probably the biggest, stat line in the game right here was the penalty differential. LSU got penalty after penalty after penalty. And no, this wasn't home cooking. This was just a false start after false start, illegal shift, illegal motion. It was just like dropped passes. They could have had an interception. Wilcom Formby ends up catching the ball. There's like a continued series of events where like LSU, a missed field goal, right? They had so many things that just didn't go right. And that's an undisciplined football team for sure. But they just, they did have their chances, just as Tennessee had its chances. But look, you got to be able to win those type of games, and Alabama has been able to win those type of games. So even when it's not pretty, a good team is still able to come out on top. So that's Coach Kalen DeBoer after the game. In regards to the run game, Coach Kalen DeBoer said this: our run game needs to get better. We missed opportunities that would help open the box. We need to do a better job blocking and being physical with the ball in our hands. We certainly got to be better than what we were. Yeah, this is a broken record. This team is one-dimensional. They can't run the ball. If I had to grade them tonight, I'd probably give them an F. You're like, yeah, you won the game. But everybody knows that you can't run the ball. So you're going to be one-dimensional. That puts more pressure on Ty. I'm going to pressure Ty, and I know you can't run the ball, and I know that Ty has, maybe his Achilles heel is the deep ball. So that's what I'm going to do to try to beat Alabama football going forward. In the end, Alabama is able to come out with a much-needed victory, and I think when you look to, the teams across college football, you look at 1, you look at 2, you look at 3, you look at 4, right? Like those teams were able to win the game. I'll go full screen on some of the college football finals from today. Ohio State, right? The number 1 team, they're able to win. They were trailing actually to Purdue by a score of 3-0, end up winning 34-10. As you see, Julian saying 27 of 33, 303 yards passing. You have the number 2 ranked team, Indiana, 27-24. They had to come back in the final minutes under Fernando Mendoza, threw a big touchdown to Omar Cooper, who toe-tapped in for a touchdown. They survived. They are now 10-0. Number 3, Texas A&M. They're able to beat up on Missouri, who's without Bo Pribula, by a score of 38-17. Marcel Reed, 20 of 29, 221 yards. And you look to, is Texas A&M that much better than Alabama? Look how they beat up on LSU. I don't know. This was a weird game tonight. It just was. It had a weird feeling. It's a rivalry game, but this game right here was like absolutely stuck in the mud. Number 5, Georgia. They're able to beat Mississippi State. This is a game they were losing as well, 7-3. They came back to win 41-21. 41-21 rather, and then Ole Miss, they're able to beat up on the Citadel. Texas Tech, we saw this coming 10 miles away, beat up on BYU 29-7. Oregon is able to survive. They come from behind and they kick a last-minute field goal to beat Iowa 18-16. Notre Dame beats up on Navy 49-10. And Virginia, who was number 1 in the ACC, they go down to Wake Forest 16-9, creating an interesting situation in the ACC in terms of kind of 1 and 2. California is able to beat up Louisville as the ACC continues to get wacky. And then Auburn, that they had Vanderbilt on the ropes. Vanderbilt's able to come back and win this game 45-38 in overtime. Diego Pavia, 25-33, 377, and 3 touchdowns. Couple more to round out. Miami's able to beat Syracuse 38-10 in Wisconsin, beats number 23 Washington by a score of 13-10. Fam, I will be live this morning at some point in time, and of course I will be live at 1 p.m. for the AP Top 25 rankings release. I appreciate you guys smashing that thumbs up. Thank you very much for being here on this recap of Alabama beating LSU 20-9. Good night. Or good morning if you're watching this in the morning, and I'll catch you with you soon right here on Bama Football on YouTube. See you, fam.